You would not believe this, but the average American household dumps 29,000 gallons of water on their yard every year. That is like filling a backyard swimming pool and then just poking a hole in it for fun. While your water bill laughs at you, and if you are running a micro homestead here in the United States, you feel that bill right in your soul because every extra dollar to the city is a dollar you cannot spend on Seeds chickens or that new broad fork you have been eyeing. I was there. 2 summers ago, my tomatoes looked like they went 3 rounds with a desert, and my basil drowned the same week. I had a $40 hose timer from the big box store, and it was about as smart as a bag of hammers. It watered when it rained. It slept through a heat wave. I was ready to rip the whole thing out and go back to a watering can like it was 1890. Then I built a real smart irrigation system for $87 total. No Wi-Fi, no subscription, no calling my neighbor to turn the spigot when I go camping, just a couple of cheap parts and a little redneck engineering. Now my beds get a drink when they are thirsty and stay dry when the sky already did the job. My water bill dropped 30%. My plants stopped filing complaints, and I get to sleep in instead of playing sprinkler operator at 5 a.m. So here's the deal. Most YouTube videos and garden blogs get this whole smart irrigation thing dead wrong. They sell you complexity when you need common sense. Let me give you 6 secrets I learned the hard way so you do not have to. First secret, smart does not mean connected, it means responsive. Everybody thinks they need an app and a Wi-Fi controller and a little cloud that talks to their phone. Nah. That stuff is for people who like paying $8 a month to water petunias. Your garden does not have Instagram. It cannot tap the notification that says watering in 10 minutes. It only cares about one thing. Is the soil wet or not? I picked up a soil moisture sensor kit with a little controller board for $13 online. You stick the probe near your thirstiest plant, about 4 inches deep. When the dirt gets dry, the controller sends power to the valve. When the dirt is damp, it cuts power. That is it. My neighbor Jake spent $180 on a fancy smart controller last May. It ran his sprinklers right through 2 days of thunderstorms because the weather station it used was 20 miles away. My $13 sensor felt the rain in my actual dirt and shut everything down. Jake had mushrooms growing in his lawn. I had dry shoes. Second secret. Valves are where people blow their budget and their pressure. They roll into Home Depot and grab those big green sprinkler valves rated for an acre and a half. Those things need 30 psi just to think about opening. You are running a hose bib on a city lot or a rain barrel on cinder blocks. You have maybe 20 psi on a good day. You need a 12-volt latching solenoid valve made for drip. Costs $14 to $18. Latching is the magic word. It only uses a tiny blip of power to open and another blip to close. The rest of the time, it just chills. That means you can run the whole system on 8 AA batteries or a little 12-volt lantern battery for an entire season. No trenching, no outdoor outlet, no extension cord, turning your garden into a trip hazard. I tried a standard sprinkler valve first because I did not know better. My little gravity-fed tote could not push it open. I stood there like a fool, watching nothing happen while my peppers stared at me. Swapped to a low-pressure latching valve, and suddenly water flowed like I actually knew what I was doing. Third secret, if you have one zone, you have zero control. I do not care if your garden is the size of a parking space. Plants are picky. Herbs want frequent little sips. Tomatoes want a deep soak twice a week. Blueberries want something totally different, and they will get all dramatic if you mess it up. I'll put them on the same line, and you are running a plant hunger games. Someone is going to lose. Split your system. A $9 brass Y splitter at the spigot gives you 2 zones instantly. Add a second $15 valve, and now your shallow-rooted lettuce can get a 5-minute mist every morning while your squash gets a long drink on Tuesday and Friday. I learned this after my cilantro bolted in June while my melons were still begging for water. Same zone, same schedule, total fail. Now I run zone 1 for quick, shallow drinkers and zone 2 for the deep root crew. Everybody is happy. Even the cilantro forgave me. Fourth secret, use gravity and stop paying for pressure. Water's heavy, lift it and it wants to go down, that is free energy. If you can raise a 55-gallon drum or an old IBC tote just 2 or 3 feet on cinder blocks, you have enough push to run 40 or 50 feet of drip tape. No pump, no noise, no extra, $35 spent. City water costs money, rain is free. I catch roof water in 2 barrels behind my shed. The barrels sit on blocks. That gives me about 1 psi per 2 feet of height. It is not a fire hose, but it is plenty for drip emitters. The trick is filtration. Rain barrels are full of roof gunk and mosquito parts. A $6 inline screen filter keeps your emitters from clogging. Skip the filter, and you will spend a Saturday with a paperclip unclogging every dripper while questioning your life choices. Ask me how I know. 5th secret, timing is everything and midnight is dumb. The best time to water in like 90% of the United States is early morning. Think 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. The wind is calm. The sun is not baking the water away. The leaves have time to dry before night, so you do not invite fungus to the party. But nobody wants to wake up at 4 a.m. to turn a valve, so do not. Buy the cheapest mechanical outlet timer you can find. The one with the little pins you push down. Grandma used it for her Christmas lights. It costs $8. Plug your 12-volt power supply into that timer and set it to give power from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. Now here is the brain. The soil sensor only gets electricity during that window. If the soil is dry at 5 a.m., the valve opens and waters. If it rained last night and the soil is still wet, the sensor says nope and keeps the valve shut, even though the timer is on. You just built a rain-aware smart system with parts from the junk aisle. My buddy in Texas tried watering at noon because that was when he was home. He lost half his water to evaporation, and his plants got sun-scald from the droplets. He switched to early morning on a timer, and his garden did a complete 180. 6th secret. Emitters are not one size fits all. The store sells those little flag emitters that say 1 gallon per hour, and people just punch them in everywhere like they're planting stickers. That is how you flood your thyme and starve your pumpkin. Match the emitter to the plant. I run 2 gallon per hour emitters on tomatoes and squash. I use 0.5 gallon per hour on herbs and strawberries. I use micro sprayers in a block for carrots and lettuce because they like an even shower. And I always put at least 2 emitters per big plant in case one clogs. Redundancy is cheap. Dead plants are expensive. I killed a whole row of peppers one August because one emitter got plugged, and I did not notice for a week. Now, everything important gets 2. Here's the simplest way to think about it. A blind schedule is like feeding your teenager based on the clock, even if they already raided the fridge. Checking the soil first is like opening the fridge to see if food is needed. One wastes money, the other keeps everyone healthy. Your garden is that teenager. It will eat when it is hungry. Your job is to check the fridge. Let me walk you through my exact build for $87. I am in Ohio, so prices are pretty standard United States big box stuff. You can swap brands, but the idea stays the same. I started at the hose bib. Brass Y splitter $9. That gives me 2 zones. On zone 1, I put a $6 screen filter, then a $15 latching solenoid valve. From there, I ran 1/2 inch poly mainline tubing 100 feet for $12. I used a hole punch and put in 1 gallon per hour emitters 18 inches apart from my tomato row. Total for that zone was about $42. Zone 2 got the same filter and valve setup, another $21. But instead of drip, I ran 1/4 inch soaker line for $10 through my herb bed and salad greens. They like a gentle, even soak. The brains cost $22. I got a soil moisture sensor with a little controller board for $13 and a 12-volt 1 amp power supply for $9. I wired the sensor to the controller and the controller to both valves. Then I plugged the power supply into an $8 mechanical outlet timer. The whole brain lives in a cheap plastic food container to keep rain out. Total brain cost $30. Add 2 packs of AA batteries for $5 and some zip ties, and I was at $87. No tax included because every state is different, and I am not the IRS. It took me one Saturday afternoon to install. The next morning I woke up to the sound of nothing. Because it had rained, the system knew it stayed off. I drank coffee on the porch like a king while my garden just handled itself. Now here is my personal stake. I run a micro homestead on 1/3 of an acre inside city limits. I have 3 4x8 raised beds, a couple of berry patches, and a chicken run. I sell salad mix and hot peppers at the farmer's market to pay for feed. If my water bill spikes, my profit vanishes. If my plants die, I have nothing to sell. This system was not a hobby upgrade. It was survival, and it works. Last July, we had a 2-week heat wave. My sensor watered every other morning before sunrise. My market booth was the only one with crisp lettuce. Everyone else had wilted sadness. I sold out by 10 a.m., so now I will throw it to you. Be honest. Are we all just buying overpriced, smart gadgets because the garden industry figured out that Wi-Fi sounds fancier than dirt? Or is it finally time to admit that a $13 soil sensor and a timer your grandma used for her porch lights can run circles around a $200 app-controlled system? Do you trust your soil, or do you trust the cloud? Tell me your worst watering disaster in the comments. I know you have one. Did you flood the yard before a barbecue? Did you come home to crunchy plants after a vacation? Let us hear it. And if you build this system, tag me. I want to see your setup, and I want to know how much you saved. Because at the end of the day, we are not just growing food. We are growing freedom. And freedom does not need a subscription.